victory is yours. Well fought.
Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Thursday Throwdown. My name is Dr. Fish. I will be your op for today, and we have a fantastic couple of matches with some fantastic casters. Alongside me are the usual casters that we have. We have Nice Jewish Owl and Heat Shock. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello. Good to be here again. Excited to cast the finals. It's definitely going to be a very hype match. A lot on the line here. So,
Yeah,
ready to dive in.
definitely.
Yeah, very, very excited. These are two very strong teams and two very, very strong players, Colds and Mr. Python. So I think it'll be an entertaining match.
Right. Python was, I believe, the crossover champion
Mm-mm.
this season. So,
Oh.
powerhouse of a player. But
It was a super tight race, but he did not get.
oh, he didn't win. I'm sorry.
Neji just eked him out for
I must have missed following that to the end.
Yeah, it's crazy because I think they had playoffs counting for a bit, but when they took playoffs away after last season, they were very close. But yeah, I mean, obviously top 2 crossover player was leading for a lot of the season.
Right. He definitely brought some interesting classes for Legacy.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how this works out. Definitely not a choice I would have gone with here. It seems to be like obviously the Warlock is a very one-dimensional class, it feels like right now. And that one dimension is beating priests. So when you pair that with a hunter, it's definitely going to be interesting. And Coles, on the other hand, probably brought the 4 best classes. So it'll be exciting to see how Mr. Python expects that and to build the plan to deal with it.
Yeah, the Warlock bring definitely sort of interesting when coupled with the Hunter, and honestly, even when combined with the Shaman, just because when your opponent knows a priest target is coming and can prepare their deck for it, it's often a lot harder to get all 3 of your decks through. So I'm interested to see both what Mr. Python's brought in his decks and how Coles is sort of prepared for them.
Yeah. So in the
right.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. As we've been talking, I was kind of thinking about what things can Hunter do that would actually beat Priest and pair with the Warlock, and I think there's some ideas you could do, like a King Crush kind of OTK with the 8-drop. I think is still in standard. Or perhaps the True Aim Crescents to deal a big burst combo. So I think there might be some options there, but it's not going to be the Hunter that we typically know.
Yeah, and I think one of the issues is that when you bring those sorts of decks, you run the risk of just losing to Priest in the early to mid game, just because you can set up these OTKs, but when the Priest goes, Sethic on 2, Apo on 3, and then starts chaining buffs and you're dead on turn 6, your Leorox or OTK doesn't really work too well.
Right. I think that Shaman is very easy to see coming for Priest as well in closed lists. So you can just throw oozes in, and Doomhammer shouldn't kill you. And then Hunter as well. If you're kind of wary of the things that can happen, and you don't just try and make a bunch of small things for rhinos, I think that you can probably just tempo them down. Because it is probably clunky.
Yeah. I mean, I had a Tespa match I remember where the opponent brought Lerock's OTK, and with Priest, we just discovered an insight, found a Lucia, and then played their Lerox, and that seemed to work pretty well.
Well, I don't think that Coles is going to want to bring a Lucia here. I think that would be a mistake. And the weird thing is, like, cards like Death can be good against Hunter and Warlock, but there are a lot of cards that aren't good against both in Priest. Like, South Sea Scoundrel, you do not want to be giving Hunter cards, even though that might help against Warlock. So it'll be a different deck building challenge, kind of knowing what Python wants to do and adapting to that.
Yeah. So heading into game one, it seems like Coles has got standard Miracle Rogue, and Python's got Elemental Shaman. Judging by the note takers, I assume there's Doomhammers in here as well.
I would be shocked to see no Doomhammer and a Shaman that's leaving Priest up.
Yeah, I think with that Priest target, the Elemental Hybrid build definitely makes the most sense because Lily Pad Lurker is a very, very good answer to the taunts the Priest is going to put up.
I will say I'm a little disappointed not to see the Brucon take on Shaman. I think the spell damage is another really nice thing to have. Like, spell damage and Ghidra are ways that you can win the game without Doomhammer against Priest.
Also, that was very, very good draw for Mr. Python there. Getting that Rockbiter to shut off that Octobot, and we can see Cole's hand, and that was a really, really impactful shutdown.
It was, but that's damage that won't be 6 to face later. And I'm honestly perplexed by this tempo note taker. It's not something I would have ever done. An interesting line. I feel like there's a lot of cards from. I mean, we see the Brain Freeze there, ready to punish this. Or the Plunderer would even be fine. You could just shoot that and use your knife. And at this point, I think Python is not going to have tremendous amounts of damage later. It's actually a pretty good pickup here because now the Diligent Note Taker gets to do something.
Yeah,
Maybe
interesting
not a
decision
lot.
to leave the Note Taker up. I think it makes sense, honestly, going into turn 4, because there's not a huge amount of good spells for the Shaman to play on turn 4 and get back. But Mr. Python getting that Storm Strike, definitely a nice payoff.
So if we're going for a 5-drop Golem, I think Lifesteal and Taunt are probably the one. We see a Lifesteal, probably going to pick Copy if it's an option. Divine Shield is awkward as well. It's very hard to kill if you want to take a more aggressive line here.
Yeah.
Wildvine, it probably does something while the other ones don't.
Mm-hmm.
Not the options I don't think that Coles was hoping to find. And now the Divine Shield looks a little better if you're not going to copy your 5/5.
Yeah, I think
So it'll be interesting.
The Wildvine definitely seems pretty good here because you expect Doomhammers coming down this turn, so it's unlikely they're going to clear off your board.
Freeze is a surprise. I don't.
Yeah.
It does not hit face. So I don't know what the thought was here that we needed to freeze Doomhammer Shaman. And now it's weirdly awkward because it's not even that. I guess you play it for the 5/5 Divine Shield, but it's not going to be particularly impactful. And I think there's going to be lethal represented in the very near future for this Shaman. Storm Strike this turn into Inara following up.
Yeah, and there's not really any cards in Rogue's deck that can prevent this lethal outside of Wand Thief into an Ice Barrier. Because you're not going to be able to stop the Shaman from just hitting you in the face.
Well, there could be Taunt Kazakus. That's an
Yes.
out. I mean, Landslide wouldn't work, actually. So we need to be... Yeah, I don't know what the out would be then, because the Landslide will be able to clear double 1/1s.
Let's see what you got. I'm looking for a few good mercenaries.
Although,
Well,
it's probably... He probably... And Cole's defense, looking for the 1/1s here is probably extremely strong because we've seen Kindling Elemental. And that doesn't usually go in a deck with Landslide.
mhm. Although didn't hit the taunt there. And
No, and even if Shaman didn't have lethal here, the game would be over anyway, because Rogue is not going to kill him in time.
yeah,
And that's game 1.
Yeah.
I think Shaman may have been one of the stronger decks here for Python, so getting through probably isn't super relevant. The Hunter and Warlock are definitely the weak links, because they're not going to do well into Druid and Rogue.
Yeah.
But a good start, because now there's one less deck that has to beat Priest if we're trying to counter Priest.
Yeah. And, if Coles was sort of leaning on beating Shaman and had sort of oozed up and prepared the Priest for that, seeing it get through here could definitely cause some issues.
Right, you don't want to draw a handful of oozes against Warlock. One of them can be okay against the Jiraxis weapon, but you don't want that to be your raised Deadpool.
Yeah.
I make my own. Let's have some fun.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna see the Warlock now up against the Rogue. Interesting. Mr. Python decided to go for the Warlock as opposed to the Hunter. I think that means we probably have an especially spicy Hunter deck.
Yeah, this is interesting. I guess he's afraid of Priest getting through early. It makes sense to queue Priest here, I think. I think you can expect the Hunter queue, and that makes sense for Coles to play Priest, but then it's all just a bunch of mind games in the end. Fire Breather, a solid choice for Token Druid. I do like Hellfire more when we're trying to beat Warlock with it, but it's maybe a stronger card elsewhere.
Sufficient.
Lines up poorly into this 1/4, because you do not want to activate that.
Yeah, although I don't know if it's better to activate it ourselves or give our opponent the...
Well, if they don't have Aug Merchant, you can just leave this here, because your entire hand is removal spells, so it doesn't need to be... The 1/4 isn't going to kill you, right? You can leave it there for a while.
Yeah. I guess the concern, of course, is that if you leave it for too long and your opponent has 8 cards in hand and is discounting all of them, you'd ideally want them to be discounting less things, but
Sure.
sometimes it doesn't work out. Looking at Cole's hand, it's honestly not a great hand to get discounted.
No, there's almost 0 mana gain, but you have to be kind of wary about like an Alex or Tenwu in there, but they're just not present, and that's kind of impactful because 2 Shadow Steps doesn't matter. Brain Freeze is not super scary if it's discounted.
Yeah.
Secret Passage kind of unfortunate, but yeah.
Yeah, the passage seems like the most relevant, and I would expect to see it this turn.
I think so. You could Shadow Step this Octobot first, actually, and then Brain Freeze, and then do it. Okay, not going to try that. Wants to save Shadow Steps, probably for combo activation, which I think makes sense.
Finds Mankrik. Probably. I assume we're going to drop the Prize Plunder and then just trade in.
Not what I want.
Yep. I think the ideal hit was probably Kazakus off of that passage, but Mankrik close to the next best thing.
Hmm.
And yeah, the Warlock has plenty of removal. I think at this point, the Warlock just sort of has to try and dig for that Ticketus before Rogue's able to assemble Tenwu and Alex in hand.
Okay, so Sociologist on 7 tends to just win the game against Rogue. So I think we're going to see this one wrapping up pretty quickly here.
Yeah, Sociologist tends to
Unless,
win the game.
yeah, especially in the context of a very underwhelming Rogue hand with no pressure. This is just going to be almost lethal representation. Okay, not giving Warlock the board space to make the Sociologist too good, but it's still just going to come down.
Yeah. Oh no, I only get 4 3/3s instead of 5. I think you're still fine with this.
Certainly, I don't think Rogue can actually do anything here. You can't, even if there was, you're tempted to play this Mutinous, right? Because you just see Ticketus get corrupted. But if you do, you're just taking entirely too much damage. So it's going to be something else here. I kind of like the Ice Barrier. Flurry's also okay. It does a similar thing.
Yeah,
Looking for a Flame Strike, I guess. Mask is... Well, I guess you picked Rune Orb. You just have to find an AoE here. And Mask isn't going to work very well into a board of 3/3s.
yeah. I think like if the Rogue's able to top deck a field contact next turn, the game isn't over. But
Wait,
otherwise,
hang on. We've got Triple Plunderer here. If you can get it off in time.
yeah.
And that might pull things back into a manageable position. I think he's feeling like he can't afford to use all of his combo pieces in this scenario. Because if you jam both of the Shadow Steps, then the Alex won't be enough at the end of the game. Interesting choice. The 3/3s are not demons for this Fire Breather.
Yeah, although
But
still
yeah,
won't kill them.
yeah, there's still 3/1s, which isn't bad. I'm surprised by how quickly he went for that line. I would have liked to evaluate a Siphon Soul there, alongside maybe a School Spirits.
Well,
That's the saddest mutinous of all time.
oh no, 7 mana 4/4.
I understand that it was the only play in hand, but at the same time, we're shadow stepping this thing. What?
Oh man.
I don't know. I think this is not going to be a path to victory anymore.
Yeah,
I get that the mutinous was the only thing, but you kind of know that there's no Ticketus or anything there.
yeah.
We
don't
just
see
played
him
7
doing
mana
it.
do nothing because we shadow stepped the mutinous.
Well,
At
there's
least if there was a
Alex.
4/4. Oh man,
We can Alex Shadow Step and
Alex
don't
shadows.
win, but
Yeah, if you'd actually saved the other shadow step last turn, it might have won. Right? Would it have won the game? Because you could Alex shadow step it, and then you could have Alex Tenwu shadow step Tenwu.
you
It
don't
would
have
have been
enough
too little,
mana
right?
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have had to set it up over a couple turns. But
Regardless, it doesn't matter.
well, we could eat their mutinous with our mutinous if we want. Probably better to just hero power set up lethal.
It's not like Rogue can play mutinous here,
Yeah.
so I think it's perfectly fine.
Well, there's the Octo. Man, you were saying the rogue can't play Mutinous here, and they just did.
Well, they're dead.
They
The-
are
the-
dead.
He just had nothing, and I think that's Mutinous is a good card in a lot of decks, but Rogue probably isn't one of them. I'm just gonna go out and say that because it doesn't really synergize with what the deck wants to do at all. It's not trying to control the game or develop big minions. It's trying to set up some sort of burn combo.
Yeah, and I think that deck would, or that game would have gone very differently if the rogue had managed to draw field contact during it. But now we're gonna get to see this hunter.
Tyrande.
This is the sticking point, right? Hunter can very easily just get swept here. Keeping Warsong Wrangler a bit slow, but against Priest probably not the worst.
Yeah.
Tame Beast is an interesting idea.
I think that's an indication this is probably one of the slower Rhino combo hunter decks.
I think so. It's either going to be Rhinos or King Crushes or Moonfangs or something that wants to let the game go a little bit longer because Tame Beast is not the best 2-drop.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd expect King Crush if we're keeping Warsong Wrangler, because usually you want to go for the
The 1/1.
2 mana.
Yeah.
There's a Talon though, so we might be.
Oh, this is the Moonfang Hunter Ace one, probably.
Ah.
With lock and load. Probably trying to get a bunch of Moonfangs or something. Let me pull up the list real quick and I'll post it in the Discord for Al to see.
I will say this priest is running a Bloodfen Raptor right now, so looks like there is
Yeah,
preparation
this
for
deck
that
is not
shaman.
going to feel tremendous.
Sethic is definitely a really strong card. It's a good way to snowball early, although probably have to palm reading this turn and then sort of try and set up a Sethic turn soon. Yeah, I've seen this deck before. Yeah, and there's the resizing pouch.
Oh. Okay, so shockingly, there's not a Moonfang. I expected to see the Moonfang there, so there's already some deviation from what Pheno and Hunter Ace have created. Multiple
Yeah.
Zixor Primes could probably get the Priest. I don't know if we just want to buff one of them and that's going to win the game on its own. This is kind of the tempo start, though, that you were hinting at, I feel. Like
Yeah,
Sethics and Wand Makers and Apos.
I think this hand is actually able to deal with it from the Hunter.
Yeah, there's
it can
actually
play-
very good reactive tools with this Overwhelm.
Seeing the teacher's pet makes me wonder if this is possibly a Death Rattle Hunter type build. I'd be very excited if we got to see a Tonk.
Sure, there could be a Tonk and there could be the 8-mana Summon 3 Death Rattles card to get another Zixor, perhaps. That makes sense why there would be Zixor and the 4/5. If so, I think winning against Priest here is critical. Because I don't think this deck is going to do well into Rogue or Druid if it's token. I think those decks will probably run it over. And it does make the Priest queue out of Cole's potentially the difference between a 3-0 and a 3-2 for his team.
Yeah. I mean, you would think sort of normally going into it, you see Hunter left and you queue up Priest. Makes a lot of sense, but
Right, but you have to know
in this
something's up here,
situation-
right? Maybe that's the mistake he made, is not realizing that this Hunter was something a little bit off meta.
Mhm.
I think getting this Proto Drake out as quickly as possible is pretty important. So I might have wanted to coin it there.
Yeah, I think that's against a deck where you don't really know what they're doing, getting big dragons out fast is a good way to deal with it. Although getting the silence for Talon
I think it's
could
certainly
get
nice.
big.
This Prologue actually may come in very handy against this Proto Drake.
Yeah, you could. If it's only Proto Drake on board, you can get a guaranteed full clear with Kroluk and I guess now with Kolkar or with the Tame Beast, because the resizing pouch is guaranteed to give you the 0 mana poison if you have no mana left.
Sure, but I think we're going to see Resizing Pouch saved for Malagos, Alexstrasza, or Ysera on turn 10. Hysteria is actually a pretty good pickup. Okay, just going for the Proto Drake. Hysteria gets worse at this point.
Right. Well, there's Jewel of N'Zoth. So.
And there's only one Death Rattle so far this game that has not been played.
I believe Talon would also come back even if he's silenced.
Okay, but it would have to be traded off. That could be a
yeah.
line. I can see that happening. Maybe you just tempo the Kolkar with that as well, because it has limited value here with this hand.
You could consider Kolkar, Zixor, Hero Power, and then use one-ear pouches to get the 0 mana poison. Although it looks like
I'm fairly certain we're
trading
not
here.
going for the 0 mana poison this game. Does this go? He'll go on your face? Ooh, Power Word Feast is very strong tempo. Draconic Studies is a little more gas, which I don't think this priest has a lot of right now.
Yeah, Studies pick makes a lot of sense. Onyx Mage Scribe.
Yeah, it's really the only option
good.
there.
And you can probably just ditch the coin this turn to get those spells now.
Apotheosis is a great pickup. I don't know if we need to play it. I think the Ooze is a bit of a waste. So yeah, I think Hero Power would make more sense than Ooze.
Carrion Studies.
Savannah Highmane. Big man.
Yeah, although Shadow or Death's going to be able to deal with it pretty easily.
It is, but now Jewel of N'Zoth is getting fairly strong. Oh, Samuro Apo is very powerful here. And I think it's looking like Priest is just getting control of the game at this point. The resizing pouch and Jewel of N'Zoth may be a little too greedy. Poisonous, we can put that on the Zixor. Or not. Wait, no, Brave doesn't quite work. I guess more high main, sure.
Yeah. And Jewel in N'Zoth will be decent, but probably not enough to
It's
take the
very
board
slow,
back. Yeah.
and with the Soul Mirror, I think the Priest will just have too much tempo coming out. I think Soul Mirror even here would be fine. And then using that chance to push as much damage as you can. I think Priest needs to kind of figure out that they have to end the game, or Hunter will kill them. Because
yeah, I think
it's an unusual situation, for sure. But the Priest hand is very limited.
I think the Hunter, you might have to play the Jewel here, because you can go Wrangler into Teacher's Pet, which isn't awful, but still seems a little too slow.
I think that, yeah, I think this duel needs to come down. Looking for, oh, um, King Crush, probably. I don't think there's enough diversity in the pool to make Nizoth worth it.
Yeah.
Malygos is
Consider
interesting. There's a
Mally.
lot of good spells, Serpent Bloom, and Overwhelm and whatnot. Just getting a poisonous here, I guess, on the 1/1 could really help pull things back.
Yeah, and Priest is really starting to run out of cards in hand, so I think it is sort of on the Priest now to close out this game pretty quickly at this point.
Yeah, but I think that Soulmere is probably able to do that. Maybe not on this board, but on the following one. Just pushing as much damage as you can here as Priest, sending both of these minions face. Probably Hero Powering in Zyrella. I don't think you want to give the Hunter time right now. You could take a more defensive line, trade the 3/2 into the 6/1. Or you could just Hysteria the Malygos after pushing the minion's face, and the Hysteria probably kills the 6/1 and the Malygos.
Yeah. I think the Hysteria line, just send face and then Hysteria Malagos, is the one that I like the most, although it relies a little bit on getting a little lucky.
Oh, this is the wrong target though, right?
Yeah.
That was
I
a
guess
little silly.
there's potential to get punished if we Hysteria the Malagos, but yeah, I'm not sure if I agree with that one.
The punish is exceptionally rare, and the upside is so much more because you get rid of their 412. Unless he thinks that having the 412 on board is the upside for the Soulmere. I'm not convinced that's necessarily the case.
Yeah, and this board is definitely going to necessitate this Soul Mirror.
Right. And now we're kind of seeing the Hunter late game come online. It took a while to get here.
Yeah. Really down to this Malagos. I think without the Malagos, the Hunter's in a far, far worse position right now.
Yeah, the Malagos was very strong. It ended up being a lot better than the King Crush. I think with the knowledge of what cards were in deck there, I figured there was another Serpent Bloom, but the Overwhelm being a very powerful removal tool for 1 mana as well. And it's looking like the Hunter has presumably enough threats to end the game here. I think I like the Ysera. No, he's not going for it. The appeal of the Ysera might be an AoE and also a threat of lethal with the Nightmare. But Soulmere has to come down this turn at least. If you'd picked the Ysera, then any one of these minions living would potentially be enough. Although it's only 4/4 now, so it would need to be the Malygos probably wouldn't be removed, or not both of the 2/2s. Yogg, perhaps, being the answer to the problems, but it's certainly not playable this turn. I think you still pick it. No, going for the taunt.
I don't know. Well, yeah, because Talon will guarantee
Talon will
draw
the either one. It didn't matter.
And hopefully this Mutinous doesn't eat Yogg. That would be very anticlimactic.
It looks like full trading here. Trying to make sure that there's no buffs to end the game.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. Better safe than sorry. You're ahead on board, and the Priest is fairly low on resources.
But it has a lot of life.
Safe,
It's going to take multiple turns.
Yeah.
And something like Pyroblast or Rush from this Yogg would be just catastrophic for Hunter because it doesn't have the life total to work with.
Mhm. And also, the Hunter, we only have 3 cards left in our deck. So we're on a
Wow,
fairly tight clock.
that was a very nice hit for the Hunter there.
Yes.
Yogg or the Teacher's Pet would have been far worse. And we're at the stage of the game where that's a great draw. I think pretty much every Priest minion has Taunt, and you have to kill them all. So I do expect this 6-2 to get traded off.
Yeah, seems like that expectation was correct.
Not a very clean Hysteria. So I think a bit late as well.
I think you Hysteria the high main here, I believe.
The High Main's the only option that's really guaranteed to kill 2 things.
Yeah.
It could hit the Talon, and then it would only kill 1 thing, but certainly the best.
Those seemed like the best hits from it as well.
But it doesn't. This is still going to be lethal, I believe. Yeah. Oh, Zyrella. Zyrella actually solves the lethal problem, but only for 1 turn.
Yeah.
Lucy, a card that I would not have expected to see in this Priest, and is exceptionally bad here.
Yeah, sadly we can't play the Yogg.
I am a little bit perplexed by the Elucia and the Priest against these classes. I don't think it made a lot of sense to me.
I guess I sort of understand if you don't know what to expect from your opponent, you throw in a Lucia because it can help sort of deal with janky combo decks, but definitely doesn't pay off here.
I don't think it deals with Hunter, regardless of the Hunter, but not going to matter. Python takes the win there, I think, with the very unusual Hunter catching the Priest off guard. I think if Priest goes into that match knowing what the Hunter has, what tools it has, it's probably going to be a Priest victory. But just the confusion and misuse of resources that just happens naturally when you don't know what you're trying to remove.
Yeah, and yeah, that's sort of one of the things in a closed list series like Legacy. You can, if you bring those sort of strange decks, you can often catch your opponent off guard. And Priest is really a deck that gets punished a lot more than most other decks, I would say, from not knowing what your opponent's doing, just because you're making so many more decisions in terms of all the discovers and such you're presented with, that if you mulligan incorrectly with Rush Warrior, it's not going to hurt you as much as if you make discovers incorrectly for 5 turns in a row as Priest and then figure out what your opponent's doing.
For sure. And Mr. Python is going to be coming in here for an interview.
Great. Congrats.
Hello, Mr. Python.
Well done on the victory.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed the leaving up Priest strategy. Always a fan of that.
Yes, I am also a fan. I very much enjoyed beating up Priest.
I do think there was a questionable cue there at the end of the Priest. How did
Yeah.
you feel that Hunter had a chance into his other decks? Were you just gambling that you could always find the Priest?
Yeah, I didn't think that Hunter would beat either of his other decks, but I knew it would be Priest. I think he thought I was Face Hunter. That's why he queued Priest, which makes sense. But that played right into my hand, so I was grateful for that.
Right. I think we got to see how the most effective targeting in closed list is done in a secret way. I would almost be afraid that having Warlock in the lineup would give away what your other
Yeah.
classes wanted to do, but it didn't seem to be the case with the pre-skew at the end.
Yeah, so what I wanted to do with my lineup this week was I wanted to target Priest, obviously, but I wanted to make it seem like Token Druid would be a good choice into my lineup by bringing things like Hunter, Shaman, and Warlock, and then just tech really heavily against Druid. I had like, I didn't end up drawing them, but I had like double Grimoire of Sacrifice in my Warlock, and I had double Landslide in the Shaman, and then I knew the Hunter could get a win against Priest. So that's kind of where I was aiming my lineup for, and I ended up beating Rogue twice, which was an added benefit, I guess.
Right. I think that Landslide is certainly a powerful card against Token Druid, but what inspired you to try and merge that with the elementals rather than trying to build one like a more traditional Landslide Zapper Brucon kind of deck?
Oh, I'm not sure actually. I wanted the Doom Hammers in there for
Mhm.
Priest. So I guess, and I had played a lot of like the kind of hybrid, not full elemental, but not full Doomhammer package. So I like that deck a lot. So I just cut like a couple of the weaker cards for double landslide, and that's where I got to.
Yeah, I'm a fan of dropping the elementals entirely in
Mhm.
closed lists because then if when ooze inevitably happens against you, it's kind of you've got this
Yeah.
Brucon OTK kind of thing to fall back on. But
Mhm.
it worked out there. You found a win against something that wasn't priest
Right.
and managed to not deal with the oozes at all. So
Yeah,
it worked out well.
definitely.
Well, I guess I have to ask now, if we're bringing a target pre-strategy, does this mean that we missed the chance to watch Control Warrior on stream?
You absolutely did.
Oh, man.
Gosh darn it.
Again, it always happens when on
It always
Thursdays we just never
happens.
get to
It
see
always
it.
happens to Milo.
I was ready.
Yeah, I think Milo and I both big fans of Control Warrior, but
Yeah.
eventually,
Three
someday we'll
fans
get to
of
see it
it.
in action.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've grown into it. I like it a lot actually.
Mhm. And certainly against Token Druid, it makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
for sure.
I also Miracle Rogue.
Mhm.
It's like oppressively good into Miracle Rogue and Token Druid, which I think makes it a somewhat viable option even outside of target pre strategies.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that
I
it's
mean,
good
that's
against Rogue for sure, but I think it's way overshadowed by how good Rush Warrior is into Miracle Rogue specifically.
yeah. I think
The-
that I'd rather be the Rush Warrior than the Control Warrior, but
yeah.
Control Warrior does well.
I mean, I believe the top 1K stats say that Control Warrior is better than Rush Warrior.
Oh, really?
And it relies on a card called
Oh,
Rancor,
yeah,
which has like an 80 something percent drawn win rate against Rogue.
yeah. When they play a lot of 2 health minions, gaining like 18 armor is good, 16 armor.
The VS stats show Rush Warrior to be 4% better.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at a mirror, but it's certainly close. Control
Mhm.
Warrior has a great opportunity to take advantage of rogues.
for sure.
Yeah, well, certainly a great start. Very clean opening for your team. Puts you in a great position into the playoffs, the finals match
Mhm.
here.
yeah. I know there's another match
Making
going
sure,
on
yeah,
now.
a lot of
Yeah,
mind games happening there to make sure that none of the other decks slipped through. I think with the priest, just thinking priest would beat that hunter, and it probably was the difference
yeah.
between a 3-2 and a 3-0.
It was really close too. I was a little bit worried when he had the Samuro Apo, and he was able to push so much damage those couple turns.
Mhm.
But I remembered that Priest didn't have any burst. I had to dodge an Alex from a Draconic Studies, though.
He had the chance to pick Ysera, which could have been scary for you at some point.
Yeah.
He didn't go for it,
Mhm.
but then it, I think that he could have found a lethal there if he knew how aggressive he had to push. But
Yeah.
um, that hunter deck was just so incredibly greedy that the late game power really came
Yeah.
through.
Yeah. Julian is off was really good. And the Savannah High mains dying
Right.
really powered that up. I didn't get to play Yogg, though. Sad.
No, but it would have been weird. It would have been like a 40% to just lose to
Yeah,
rush
yeah.
minions. You wouldn't have been
Right.
able to clear all of them, or
Yeah.
Pyroblast probably wouldn't have gone your way. So
Right. Did he not have N'Zoth, by the way?
He didn't.
not that we saw.
Didn't draw it,
Because
but
he drew it off of Talon. He got a Talon and he played Mutanus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, so I guess he didn't. Yeah,
We didn't see any light showers either,
I
did
didn't
we?
see no light showers, no scoundrels. So
Hmm.
yeah, I would guess it was a regular old control priest, not a
It did
not a
seem like
menagerie.
the priest didn't have the tools to really fight control warlock at all. If that
Yeah.
would have come up.
Yeah.
Yeah. The priest seemed like a deck that was sort of built to say, like, yeah, I'm going to lose to the warlock, but sort of go a little lower to the ground, get the healing and the early stuff to beat shamans and face hunter. And,
Yeah.
well, it wasn't face hunter, and the
No.
shaman won elsewhere, so
Yeah.
Right.
plan
Well,
didn't quite work.
and light shower would have been a good card against shaman as well. I don't know that we don't know for certain that there weren't any of them, but it seems like a very weird cut.
Right. I agree. I was really scared of N'Zoth after he got the
Mhm.
Talon. Because I thought that I would have had to end up playing Yogg and like RNG take the wheel. But when he played Mutanus, I was a little surprised.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a good start. Corridon is playing right now, and then Electric Sheep City plays in like 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
a lot of results pretty early in the
So
week.
we'll know by tomorrow if Jimfalos and Quaz has to happen as a match.
Mhm.
And obviously a great start for your team with you getting a sweep over Coles, and then you'll be waiting the results of Anfall and Corridon. That's gonna be a pretty tight matchup. At least like from me watching both of the players playing on stream in the last couple of weeks. They're both very good players.
For sure.
So yeah.
Luckily, all of these matches except for Quaz versus Jim are pretty close in PR.
Mhm.
So they could go either way.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We see a sweep here, but I mean, there's been many instances of a first match being a sweep and then the team ends up not winning the week. I've
No,
seen it
hold
like
on.
so
I don't
many
want to
times.
hear that. I
No,
don't
no, no,
wanna
no,
hear
no, no,
that.
no.
We're gonna win.
I'm giving hope to the Hot Zills and to the fans of Hot Zills.
Yeah, I got you.
It's
Yeah.
difficult to do. But yeah, obviously, thank you both, Mr. Of course, for coming on stream. I always love watching your matches and casting them. And Coles as well. Thank you for coming on stream. Yeah.
Yeah. GG's to Coles, and thank you guys as always for having me.
Mhm.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, great having you on.
All right. See you guys.
See ya. All right. Go ahead now. Switch over to our next match. Players are I don't know if these players are going to be playing early or not. But I have informed Ted that the match is over, and so the next match that we have transfers us to Hero Series quarterfinals. We're gonna be starting off with the Big Ted from Wherever I May Roam and Starlax of Dad Legend, and this could be a potentially really big match in the series. Donde got a sweep last night, so it's 4-0 right now for Rome. So if they take this one here, they'll be one match closer to knocking off Dad Legend and moving on to the next round.
Yeah, I have been helping Rome a little bit with lineups. I worked with Donde to bring Control Warrior for his match. So it was a 3-0 victory, but he won with Shaman. And then I'm also helping Roadrunner because he's a washy buddy.
Oh yeah.
But I am rooting for Rome. But we'll see if Dad Legend has the skills to take them down.
Well, I guess I'm the opposite because I've been helping out Dad Legend with lineups and such. So this will be an interesting contest.
I actually don't know what Ted is going to do entirely. So I have a little bit of an idea, but I didn't help him very much. So
Yeah,
I guess we'll see what happens.
for sure. And then so everything's up on the screen. If you guys want to run through classes, the players are gonna challenge up and ban. Pretty. I assume in like a pretty short amount of time.
Yeah, you've got.
Well, certainly the
Druid.
most surprising thing is neither player has a priest, and this is the 2 seed. Not something you get to see every day, but
Yeah.
it'd be exciting. Both players have druid, warrior, and shaman. The difference being Ted has a rogue, while Starlux has a warlock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would say rogue generally perceived as the stronger class, especially with the diverse array of options it has in closed list. And I think warlock without a priest is unlikely to accomplish much. But maybe it could. It has some matchups against Russian control warriors and against clown druid and token druid that it could find a win or prevent. It may not be useless necessarily.
Yeah. And also, of course, this is hero, so if the warlock never comes out, that's also a fine situation.
Right. It's okay to have one deck that's useless in hero. It's not ideal.
Yeah.
Especially if it turns into losing game one and you have to counter queue them, and then it falls apart from there. But the warlock may not be too much of a liability if the other decks can win.
Yeah. I
Yeah, I
agree.
guess without priest, it makes the ban a little harder to figure out.
It does.
Yeah, potentially.
I mean, we've
I
seen a lot of clown druid in hero this season, just because rush warrior is just terrifying as a class if you don't have priest to deal with it.
Yeah.
It just has a lot of sweep potential. So I think we'll either see um, clown druids or warrior bans from both players.
all right.
Okay. Well,
So
it is. I have bans. One band druid, one band warrior. So Starlax's warrior is not going to be played this time. Oh.
Hmm. I
yeah,
think that's logical. So druid, shaman, warlock, um, against rogue, shaman, warrior. I think that means
Yeah.
that the druid's clowns, or maybe some deck
Yeah.
like a solar eclipse deck that I've seen people playing with the owls, umbrella, not the umbrella owls, not Ironbeak.
wait,
I'm sure
what do
it's
you
you.
mean? You're not running Ironbeak Owl in your druid decks? I
Yeah,
wonder why not.
yeah, you could. Um,
I would assume with that warrior ban, it's very unlikely we're going to see Clown Druid brought by Big Ted.
yeah, I don't think so. It's probably. Well, I guess Ted's
But
druid is banned,
yeah,
so
the
we don't know
druid's
what it
banned,
is.
so we don't know. But I think
I,
you don't ban warrior and bring clown. I would
no,
assume.
no, it's probably token. And then shaman, definitely a danger to clown druids. So that's something he'll have to. Shaman on its own poses a threat to all of Starlax's decks, I would say. Warlock really needs to hit an ooze, and I guess the shaman mirror could potentially go the shaman's way. Um, Rush
Um,
Warrior, very good deck. Maybe not the best into Clown Druid and Warlock, but you've got it for the Shaman counter queue. And then Miracle Rogue. Just an all Miracle Rogue, an all-rounded deck, or Weapon Rogue could beat up Warlock perhaps a little harder, and maybe kill a Shaman.
yeah. I'm interested to see what variants of shaman we see. Because I do believe that elemental shaman doesn't beat up on clown druid as much as the aggro doomhammer shamans do.
I think Doomhammer's a good card, but I also think that Elemental Tempo can really deal a lot of damage before the clown really hits its power spikes, especially without an overgrowth.
Yeah.
So I think either one could be a viable choice from Ted. I'd expect Doomhammer because there's a Warlock. Um, but maybe Elementals makes sense. I don't think Elementals makes much sense from Starlax here, at least without Doomhammer, because Rush Warrior and Miracle Rogue have the board control tools to really dismantle anyone that tries to make minions.
Mhm.
Yep. I've sent the players. I'm just waiting for eyeballs. We're gonna have Starlax on the bottom of our
Mhm.
screen and Ted on the top of our screen. These for my spectating. Um. So yeah. See how they lead.
Yeah, it looks like we are starting off with the Shaman Mirror.
I think that makes sense. Both players probably feel like it's one of their stronger options.
The earth itself
It looks
is
like both of them have Elemental Shaman.
Unfortunately, I can't spectate, and I'm not sure why, because I have them on my friends list. Oh, here's Starlax.
Oh, you built this for me. Oh, you built this for me.
Oh, yeah, the Big Ted starting off with double kindling and going to be able to follow it up with an Arid Stormer. Very, very strong start. Although getting this Menacing Nimbus into Gyreworm is also pretty spooky.
3/1/2s are nice, but they're not a lot of value. The uh, the extremely strong draw card in Primal Dungeoneer might make up for that. I don't love this immediate Gyreworm here. I think I would have liked to see a Serpent Shrine, but we're seeing some Speedstone in action here. Turns lasting very short amounts of time.
I expect we probably have to see the
That's a
Shuriken
very
Flag
good
this
3-drop that
turn.
needs to be dealt with here. Luminary and Lightning Bolt is an option, but it dismantles the Lily Pad the following turn. I think you still might see it.
Yeah, this feels too scary to leave alive.
I think Serpent Shrine as a response is fantastic, though, and still maintaining board control and pushing some chip damage. Shaman now has essentially no powerful options this turn. You can play some elementals, but they're not likely to really swing things back. Just playing the Serpent Shrine here, hopefully getting a good 3-drop. He found a decent one. Dunk Tank a great card, but might not be corrupted for a little bit. Going for board control, I think this makes a lot of sense. Shaman, Elemental Shaman, not known for its ability to come back from behind, I would say.
Yeah.
And I'll probably see a Wailing Hex on this 2/4 or maybe the 3/1. We'll see which one he prioritizes. I would kind of lean towards the 2/4. Oh, going for the snowballing minion, that's reasonable. Cage match into a Whack-A-Null could really start just pushing damage through. I think at this point you can maybe ignore the 5/6 if you want to go for that. Probably just kill the snowballing minion, just start jamming damage. This Shaman's at 22. You could also go for a more defensive line, making sure you maintain your board control. This is okay. I think Starlax is, Ted is saying that he's going to win this mid and late game because he just has more cards. Which is probably a reasonable take here. There's just not anywhere for this Wind Fury to go where it's not going to get devoured by a Whack-A-Null. And another fantastic draw option.
Yeah, Coin Alec here, especially corrupting this Dunk Tank. Very strong, and yeah, it's going to be really, really hard for Starlax to come back at this point.
Oh, he just doesn't have the life total. Shaman, this particular Shaman deck can't really do anything once it falls behind, and this is just lethal. Not anything to be done at this point.
Yeah.
I guess
Very
even a
fast.
Taunt Totem wouldn't
Like,
matter because the Dunk Tank is just going to get there. Hopefully he sees the line. And that will do.
Yep.
There's a couple options. It's a difficult lethal to mess up, I would say. But
Yeah.
game one in our Speedstone match, Shaman Mirror goes to Ted.
Yeah. It's hard to sort of see very many different lines the players could have taken there. It just
No,
feels
both
like
of those
one
decks
of the
are
shamans.
very straightforward. I
Yeah.
will say that going for the elementals though in the Shaman means that they're going to be worse into the other decks. So the odds of a Shaman sweep are lower at this point.
I'm interested to see Starlax odds for the Warlock. Interesting.
I think that's pretty reasonable, knowing that there's no Doomhammers. I don't know if he put oozes in or not, but I really don't like throwing away Hysteria. That upset me a little bit. A great card against any board-centric deck like Shaman. Soul Shear is nice.
Oh man, we have.
That's had Cultist, a very unusual card for Control Warlock.
We're gonna see Kindling into Arid Stormer again.
Right?
Um,
I think you just have to set up a clear, as
And-
disappointing as it will be.
yeah, you're just praying that there's not a Whack-A-Null off the top here, or not a Whack-A-Null in hand. Here.
I very much dislike this line. I think Serpent Shrine there was important because of how the overload works out for your next turn.
Yeah, I think on turn 3, I almost always would go for that Serpent Shrine, because then you play the dungeon you're on 4, and it lines up.
Right, you want to
lines up a lot
spend your
better.
mana appropriately, and now there's probably going to be a floated mana point. Although double 2-drop, I think, is pretty reasonable here.
Imagine we'll probably see one of these Death's Head cultists come down.
And I think it's just going to get frogged immediately. So you could... Yeah, I think that the minion is too big, even though it plays into Hysteria.
Yeah, this is an absolutely incredible Hysteria for the Warlock. And setting up for a Coin Militia next turn will probably swing things in the Warlock's favor at this point.
It will definitely put in some work, but at the same time, he's only going to have 2 of the 3/3s, and the damage is adding up. There's 9 damage in hand, not counting the dunk tank, which could be even more. So at this point, if the weapon is stopped and no healing is found, the Shaman will not get there, but it will only be by 2 health. A tap is playing with death at this point.
Yeah. And yeah, there wasn't an elemental last turn, so you can play either the Talon or the Void Drinker here with relatively less concern.
And this is the somewhat underwhelming thing about Shaman sometimes, is that it has to play a little too fair. It doesn't really have any great answers to the 7/8.
Yeah, because we're either using a bunch of our burn on clearing a minion, and that doesn't feel good against Warlock, or we're not clearing a 7/8, and that also doesn't feel good.
That's a great draw. Sociologist is not at its strongest into this board.
Oh, especially with that fragment draw.
I don't know. Maybe it should have come down last turn. Tamsin is all right, but it means that mana is getting floated.
If we're healing for 6, we can maybe justify a life tap here. It's a little risky, but we're also starting to run pretty low on resources, so I think we might have to.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's the removal to, even if Shaman just plays minions the rest of the game, just deal with them all.
It's definitely an awkward position for the Shaman, though, because you're either
Yeah,
using...
the Tamsin will not be dying this turn, unless you play a dunk tank on it, which is just never correct. And I think this is very bad. I get that it's scary, but like, you can't do that with your turn.
Yeah, well,
I
if
don't know.
there's a turn to play Militia, I think this is it. Well, Tailwind Death's Head isn't awful either. I don't mind this.
There's a lot of elementals coming down here. I think just
Oh.
desperately hoping. Oh, and a twisting nether off
man.
the top.
Oh, man.
What a draw.
I think you definitely ripped the twisting here. You know, there's a 4/4 left on board, but you have a Siphon Soul in hand and Militia. Yeah, I don't know if there's a good option for the Shaman at this
Tickets
point.
are a good start.
Okay. Okay. Game isn't over. I think Spirit Jailer Siphon Soul this turn, followed by Militia next turn, will likely seal it.
I
But
don't think that's the line I would go for. I would either do the Sociologist or the Mally Ghost here. I think this makes more sense. It's hard to justify anything besides Malagos here.
yeah, I'm interested why we
Well.
decided not to. Malagos here.
And I think we're going to see Alex face. And I don't think there's not a way to kill this. Oh, okay.
now
Now there's
there
a way
is.
to kill it. Starlax's getting saved by his top decks here.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think getting punished a little bit for not playing that Malagos last turn. Yeah, this is.
Things are just falling apart slowly for Starlax here. He's getting all of the top decks he can need, but they're just not working.
We have how many soul fragments do we have?
There's
in deck?
3
There's
soul
3.
fragments.
So with Malagos, we're
Healing
not
6,
quite
going
dead.
to 12. Alive by 1, assuming there's no damage drawn.
Mhm.
There's a lightning bolt still in deck. And a dunk tank. No, there's no dunk tank in deck.
Yeah, I think this is the best option, but it's a risky one. Okay.
Actually, this is tragic, but the Warlock might die to fatigue damage. Oh, and no, never mind. He's just dead.
Oh.
I was gonna say fatigue damage might come into play with only 4 cards remaining, but I think that both players had some errors there. But in the end, Shaman is the better deck played when it's making errors.
Yeah.
And we see that the piles of stats just getting over the finish line.
Now, a reverse sweep with Druid is not impossible. So series is
No,
not
it's definitely
over.
not. Clown Druid is a powerhouse, but the Shaman's still alive, which is a problem for it. It does not want to deal with Elemental Shaman. With the right Overgrowth hand into like Cave Hydras and 7/7s that come back as 7/7s. There's
Well,
the Overgrowth.
and the Guardian Animals. I think this is.
This is the start. Could have kept the Strongman there, but I think it's looking for an Innervate or Lightning Bloom probably makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not personally a huge fan of keeping the strongman, because even with only Overgrowth, it's still a fairly slow road to that Guardian Animals. I think you want essentially 2 pieces of ramp to get you there.
Right. And
Well-
double Overgrowth. That's 2 pieces of ramp. This Guardian Animals is going to need to hit the draw, though, I think, is going to be important.
Oh, you built this.
So I believe if we play the Overgrowth this turn, we then play the next Overgrowth the next turn.
Yeah, I
Does that
think that
line up?
has to happen
Yeah,
here.
that lines up how we want it to.
Arid Stormer. I mean, this is the reason that Elemental Shaman can do well is it plays a lot of stuff really quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Let's swing with the hammer.
Ooh.
Oh no!
well.
I feel by the
Let's see
emote
if we
that
get
didn't go
punished.
the way he.
Oh, never punished. Still got the best result, but
Oh wow. Okay. Well,
here comes Guardian Animals. And
positioning is not ideal in this situation. Thickhead Kodo, an interesting choice. It might buy some much needed time.
think we needed to kill the.
The Arid Storm, the Wind Fury needed to go, right? That's a problem card.
Yeah.
Probably just bump it and then use the weapon on the 5. No, not gonna kill the 5/3.
I can still kill it, but no, it's not.
No,
to.
we're not going to. I don't think. The 2/6 lines up reasonably well enough. They could play a Broom Innervate Survival. I think that's the line. Could go for Hydra Broom.
Yeah, I think. if
Lake
we
Thresher
do-
Broom, I mean.
Yeah, Thresher. Thresher double broom or Thresher broom hero power.
Yeah, hero power.
And then we're trading in the
that does
5/2
play
into
the board.
Stormer. Yeah. That seems like the best option here.
I don't know if this game is going until Alex Straza comes down, but if it does, it might be a problem for Starlax. Drawing first. Oh, Primordial. Cenarian Ward is not bad here. Can rush it into the 4/7 probably, assuming
Yeah.
it's not a mutinous. Oh, it's not a mutinous, so
Oh, that's a good 8 drop.
that's a good 8 drop. It's a taunt. I think that Clown Druid's got it from here.
Yeah, because we're going to see Survival next turn, followed by Clown the turn after. Oh, deciding
Yeah, and
not
that's
to
gonna
bolt
be
this. Yeah, this is going to end
game
it, because
over.
now we can't kill the 12/8.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter.
Or
The clowns are
we
gonna.
can, but
The clowns are gonna get there regardless.
yeah. Yeah, there we go.
And that's double Overgrowth in action.
All right, Clown Druid's a third of the way there. But let's see if it can complete the reverse sweep. I assume we're going to see the rogue come out here. I can't imagine you ever Q Warrior into Clown Druid.
No, probably not. The rogue is fairly even, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, it's the Clown Druid, especially in matchups like Shaman and Rogue and such. You win or lose really depending on your opening hand, and sometimes that's nice because it means that there are hands that can win you games. Even in bad situations, but also sometimes it means that even in favorable matchups, you get hands that just don't win.
Yeah, it's definitely live and die by the overgrowth. Oh. Uh, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely lines that can win without overgrowth, but it's hard.
They're very rare, and a lot of times they involve like sheeting out a guardian animal super early or
Yeah,
something.
the one that comes to mind was playing against a Miracle Rogue in a qualifier where I just played a turn 1 Twilight Runner and then hit them in the face for 5 for the next 4 or 5 turns, and that wound up winning the game.
Well, yeah, if you get enough cards, eventually the innervates really start to be a pain. We see Octobot in the hand. I'd expect that to... Okay. Lunar Eclipse and the Druida card I'm very much fond of. C-Mac and I came up with this one for Pro, and I also shared it in our channel, but it's nice to see someone else trying it.
Yeah,
No, this is not a very common card.
yeah, I can. It's a card that feels very important to really cement the Rush Warrior matchup, because the way you lose that matchup is an early Parade Leader or Rukara, and having an answer in the deck for that really helps make that matchup
Okay,
even
wait,
more
why did we
favored.
not play any cards here? I think this is a little bit too big-brained from Ted here, but I see what he's going for and wanting to make sure that the field content gets more draw.
Uh,
This is not a very good Glowfly Swarm.
yeah, Glowfly is an interesting pick. I guess the other options were pretty bad as well.
They
But I'm
were,
not sure
but
if I like it.
ooh,
Oh
life.
man.
What a card.
Well, at least it's a 3/7 and not a 3/10 now.
The strange thing is, I'd prefer to play Cult Neophyte here over the other sources of draw. I don't like the Shadow Step. It's not worth it. The Cult Neophytes are too powerful with the Shadow Step. I've played this matchup a few times, and just playing Cult Neophytes and preventing Guardian Animals from ever coming down is just destructive. I kind of... Okay, going for Evo. I think I would have picked Flurry, but this is solid. You have to see this Lunar Eclipse Glowfly for 2 coming down. Or 3, I guess. Yeah, it's all right. It's force of nature. I think it's going to be something like Cult Neophyte Brain Freeze Plunderer here. There is an option for going Tenwu on the Man Crick. I don't think that's fantastic, but it's okay.
Yeah, I think we go double Cult Neophyte and then
Double? Oh, I don't want to do double. This is... I don't like this for the reason that the the battle cry of the Colt Neophyte feels worth to me more in this matchup than the body itself.
Oh, this is lethal next turn, I believe, or at least
Is
setting
it
up for.
6, 7, 8? Yeah, I guess it is. So I guess preventing Broom innervation.
Yeah.
It still wouldn't innervate a Broom, but I think one of them was enough. But I guess if it's setting up lethal, any line is the correct line,
You
right?
prevent any shenanigans. Yeah, that's going to
Yeah.
be a win for the Rogue. Yeah, the Druid didn't draw Overgrowth on 2 games in a row. So sadly, it's going to be 3-1 for wherever I may roam.
Yeah. I mean, that's just Mancrick on curve into immediately top decking the wife tends to win games, I think. So, there you go.
That was a very fast 4-game series. It was less than 30 minutes.
I think both players just played insanely fast Hearthstone.
Yeah.
And that just ends matches very quickly. Very different play style for myself, but
Yeah.
I think it worked out.
Yep, and I have Ted ready for an interview, so we'll go ahead and add him in. Right, hello, Mr. Big Ted.
Hello.
Oh, first
Congrats
off,
on the victory.
Thank you.
A 3-0 and a 3-1 for your team really I think all but secures the week for you guys as long as you can
I wouldn't.
put up not for certain, but you have to just put up some points elsewhere, I think.
Yeah.
You could even lose the rest of the matches.
Yeah, but like when the rest of your team's looking down, Icicles, Risen, and Yellow Dart, and 2 of those being the 4 and 5, I'm not. You can't take anything for granted at that point.
No, no. I believe in Ron though. Ron's a good player, so
Is he?
he's pretty good. He's
dang,
pretty
he's gonna do Ron dirty like this. He's been cheering you on in chat the whole time, like a good teammate.
But yeah,
Anyways,
obviously I have faith in my teammates, but yeah, it's still
yeah.
a little bit more work to do.
I wanted to talk about how quickly you played that game or that series. It really felt like a pretty defining aspect of the match. You guys both didn't have a lot of time to think. Is that something? Do you feel like you can usually find the lines quicker than your opponent, and you want to prevent it kind of develop this pacing of just flinging cards as quickly as you can?
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of that. I just usually play a bit faster too, and on the other hand, especially when I get nervous, I just tend to play even faster. And
Mhm.
obviously, playoffs a little bit of nerves, especially playing someone in like the caliber of Starlax.
Right. I think that I was going through. There was that game, Shaman versus Warlock. You had that turn 5 hex on his 2/4. Was Hysteria something on your mind? It was something that I didn't see until the card had already come out of your hand. Um, but it was like also a card, something that I wanted to play. And then at the same time, Warlock was also getting into this pace of playing its cards very, very quickly. And I feel like kind of led to trapping your opponent into making some suboptimal lines. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, that Hex, obviously, I was kind of sad to see the Hysteria, but on the other hand, they have plenty of different AoEs and stuff, and you really can't play around everything.
Right. It's hard. It's certainly hard. And the Tamsin dunk tank also hurt me to my core seeing that happen.
I know.
Um,
It hurt me to do, but I didn't want to risk him
a
getting
Siphon Soul or something would have been bad.
Siphon Soul or just shuffling more shards into his deck or anything. It really hurt me to do, but I felt like I didn't want to take that risk.
Right. It weirdly felt like you were behind for a lot of that after the Hysteria. And then
Yeah,
I don't know if the Warlock tapped aggressively enough to make sure he had the tools for what you were doing. and he just kind of he managed to stay in there by top decking the Twisting Nether and then the Cascading Disaster, but it did seem like you had him just going from clear to clear to clear, and every turn he needed something there at the end.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then, but luckily I was just barely able to get enough across.
Yeah, yeah. Just the top deck was very good, and we were talking about you had the potential to just kill him in fatigue because he had 4 cards left at the end there.
Yeah.
Uh, kind of funny. Um, and then the Druid versus Rogue game, you had a very interesting line on turn 3 or 4 when you decided not to play the Wand Thief. Can you walk me through that?
Yeah, I was just wanting to be greedy.
You
And
wanted you wanted the card draw over the 1/2 presence, is what your
Yeah.
thought process was. It's
Yeah,
very
probably
interesting.
wrong, but
I wouldn't have done that, but it just immediately drawing the man crick, it worked out. So
yeah. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than be good, I guess.
and then you played. Did you realize that by playing both Cult Neophytes, you were setting up a lethal? Because I was actually thinking I wanted to space them out between turns, but did you count that
Um,
up pretty quickly?
yeah, it was kind of me wanting to get the lethal, and then also me trying to prevent him from doing any sort of ramping shenanigans to get out a guardian animals or something on the following turn.
Yeah, well, Innervate gets pretty tough to use when there's even one Cold Neophyte, let alone 2 of them.
Yeah.
But well done on that.
Yeah, and then also, like you said too, I wanted the maximum board presence to that point because I was looking and I had what I think it was 9 damage in
Mhm.
hand at that point. So I just wanted the maximum board presence to try to wrap it up sooner rather than later.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Al, do you have any thoughts on that match? It went
I
by so
think,
quickly, but
yeah, that was a fast match. Every question I had has sort of already been asked. And yeah, this puts your team certainly in a good position, although certainly not over yet, as we were saying.
Yeah.
Ice Cleese, Yellow Dart, and Risen all definitely powerhouses. Although I'm not going to discount Ron Mexico, Anfall, or Roadrunner. I know them all to be fairly strong players in their own rights. Well, maybe not Ron, but the rest of them for sure.
Ron posted a
Jeez, this
message
is-
in chat that he said, Anfall 3 chord in 1. Does anyone know what that means?
that's the legacy finals. I posted it in the Discord.
Oh, okay.
It's now 5-4 for standard THL after Anfall took the win.
Well, that's exciting. For
Yeah,
sure.
we have a close legacy finals. I was kind of hoping that it, like, obviously it'd be great for standard THL to get 2 match wins in a row, but hey,
Mhm.
we got a
At
good
least
one.
it's certainly not over yet with Mr. Python's victory.
No,
that we
it
saw on
no,
stream,
it is
so-
not. Yeah.
It's going to be a tight race down to the finish, so we'll have to keep a watch the rest of this weekend on stream and elsewhere to see who takes that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So yeah, congrats to you on the win, and your team is everyone's been saying is close to getting there. I wish both teams the best of luck. Obviously, anyways, thank you to Big Ted, thank you to Starlax, and for playing, and for our first match, Mr. Python and Coles for playing on stream. Thank you to everyone who's viewing, who's watching in the chat. Thank you everybody who's helped get these matches put on stream. And obviously thank you to my 2 wonderful casters for calling these 2 really good matches. So yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night with a couple of matches. We're gonna have Jammies versus Automated Button in the Legacy Finals, as well as I believe is Anfall's Hero match was gonna be on stream, but that got moved.
I believe one of my tap washers is going to be on stream tomorrow.
Yes,
sometime.
it's Ufric
Let me
versus McBanterface.
check real quick.
Yeah, it's Ufric and
Oh yeah,
Banter.
make sure if you were disappointed you didn't get to see the Control Warrior today from Mr. Python, there will be a Control Warrior. So
Yeah,
uh, make sure to tune in for that.
yeah. Um, that's an,
Ufric has played a lot of Control Warrior, and he has a take that is very different from Owl's. So I'm sure Owl will be a little bit active in the chat, perhaps. But
Yeah, there was a little disagreement on the list between us. I know that for sure.
well, get excited for that, everybody. Um, we get to watch Pro Finals action on top of Legacy Finals action. It's really cool, especially like seeing McBannerface play, knowing that he is very likely, if not already secured, a America's GM spot next season.
I believe I saw a tweet that he was going to be a GM. So
Yeah, it's
guaranteed.
yeah, that's right. It's guaranteed because I think they worked out the situation with that was going on. So I think all three THL people should be making it.
Yeah, that's it. It's super exciting to see
Yeah.
how THL really is the training grounds for the highest levels of play.
For sure, it really is.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Kylius Luna for having quite possibly the most intimidating GM photo I've seen.
Oh, it's pretty scary.
Let's go. I'm excited to see this now.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's gonna do it for Thursday Throwdown. Thank you for watching and have a great night. Stay safe, everybody. We will see you tomorrow night.
Yeah. Stay safe.